The kingdom of my divine will in the midst of creatures. Book of Heaven, Volume 31, Part 8. December 25th, 1932. The birth of the little infant Jesus was universal. He was born in everything and in every one. How, in order to keep us safe, he came to cover us with the garment of his humanity. Example of the Son. My abandonment in the Fiat continues. Today, on the day of Holy Christmas, I spent the whole night without seeing my celestial baby, and I felt a pang in my heart without the one who forms my life and my all. To live without him is like living as if one had no life, tortured, without strength, without supports, which forms the most terrible of deaths for my poor and little soul. And amid the anxieties and the fear, I prayed the Supreme Volition to unveil to me the one who loved me and who formed my hard martyrdom. Then, while in this state, my mind remained as though captivated by an immense light which filled heaven and earth. And oh, marvel! I saw the little divine baby reborn in each created thing, in each heart, in everything. The little infant Jesus, multiplied, bilocated, reborn in the infinite manner, in everything and in each one. So all had the good of feeling within them, being born, the celestial baby. Oh, how beautiful it was to see him, tiny little one, in the sun, in the stars, in all the elements, in all creatures. And all sang his praises, and had the great honor, the immense good, of his being reborn in each one, and of possessing as their own the sweet pledge of little baby Jesus. Then, between amazement and stupefaction, I saw that the one whom I was looking for with so many sighs and anxieties was born in me also, and I squeezed him so very tightly in my arms, and he let me do it. Even more, he enjoyed my doing that, and all tenderness told me, "My daughter, love me, love me. I am born to love and to be loved, and to do it as God. My birth is universal. I would not have acted as God had I not been born in a universal manner, in a way that all can say, with facts, the celestial infant is born for me. He is mine, and this is so true that I already possess him. My love would remain hampered had I not been able to be reborn for all. My power would have been limited, my immensity restricted, if my rebirth were not universal. And this is no wonder, since my divinity filled heaven and earth in the same way by incorporating itself into my little humanity. It multiplied it and bilocated it in such a way as to make me be reborn in all and in each one. These are our divine and infinite ways that we have, such that all must take the good that we do, and be pregnant with our works. More so, since having descended from heaven to earth, I wanted to take on human flesh, in order to glorify completely the glory of the celestial Father. to make up for all that man had not done. Here then my little humanity wanted to be reborn also in the created things, because man had not given us the glory, the requital of the love for our having created a heaven, a sun, and many other things. And my humanity, being reborn in them, glorified my celestial Father completely for the whole work of creation. Man, by rejecting my divine will, had rendered himself impotent to everything, and I came to be his Savior, repairer, glorifier, defender, and I covered him inside the garment of my humanity to keep him safe and to answer for him, I myself, in each thing, before my celestial Father. My love was so great that my divinity, in order to give vent to my love, led me to be born in each heart and in all things. And this is so true that the first to recognize me and sing my praises were the created things, because feeling my birth in them, they exulted with joy and made feast for me. But do you know who the ones are who make feast for me, as I am born in their hearts? Those who possess my divine will. These immediately perceive that I am born in their hearts, and they make perennial feast for me, while the others make me cry, give me sorrow, and by sin prepare for me the knife with which to wound me or to kill me. After this I remained all immersed in his love. The moving scene of the birth of the celestial baby, so universal and in each one, made me comprehend who knows how many things. But I believe it is better to let them pass in silence, because incapable of saying them well, I might speak nonsense. Then, to make feast to the celestial infant, I abandoned all of myself in the divine will, and he, coming back again, was so very graceful, of a beauty so rare, such that no other can be found similar to it, and all love, enclosing himself in my heart as the place of his birth, he repeated in me his baby crying, the loving moans, his repeated sobs. Oh, how touching it was to see him, now crying, now sobbing, now wailing. He made his first entrance of rebirth in each one and in everything, with the weapons of his tears, with the stratagems of his sobs, with the pleas of his wailing. By this he rendered himself captivating, and by dint of captivating, with the strength of a god that he possessed, he entered into the hearts to form his new rebirth. Oh, heavens, bow down, and together with me love and adore the celestial infant. But while my mind was wandering in a mystery so great, the sweet little baby, amid tears and sobs, mixed with a celestial attitude of smile, added, "Blessed daughter, not only was my birth universal, since as God I could not do otherwise, but I found myself in the condition of the sun, such that, whether they wanted or not, all created things, the whole creation, and all creatures must receive its light, its heat. From the height where it descends, with its empire of light, and with its supremacy, which it holds over everyone and over everything, in its muteness, yet more loudly than if it were speaking, the sun seems to say, "Either you receive me with love, or I will invest you with the rights that I possess to give you light. And if you do not want to receive me, I shall surround you from all sides in such a way that you shall not be able to escape my light. And I will have the great glory that I have given my light to all." The sun, symbol of my birth, since it too is reborn every day for everything and for each one. And not only am I reborn in a universal way, but while being reborn, I make an invasion. Not only am I reborn in the heart, but I invade the mind with my thoughts, the eyes with my tears, the voice with my wailing, in such a way as to make the universal invasion of all creatures. I take her from all sides, that she may not be able to escape me. If they receive me with love, my life is not only reborn in them, but grows in a surprising way. But if they do not receive me with love, I am reborn in them with my rights of God that I possess. But I do not grow in them. I remain small and lonely, and I stay there in reserve, waiting that who knows, with my wailing and tears, they might be induced to love me. And if I do not succeed, my life changes into justice for them. And oh, how tortured is my little heart in seeing my birth, all love, changed into justice for the poor creature. So, since I am born in you, give me the good of letting me grow. In this way you will change my tears and my wailings into joys. Fiat. January 6, 1933. With one who operates in the divine will, God hides within the creature with all his acts. Gratitude he feels towards those who let him produce his life. Rights on both sides. The little vessel. I was doing my round in the creation, to follow the acts that the divine will had done in it. And it seemed to me that each created thing was letting me in, to receive my act and place it as cortege and requital to the divine will, which they possessed as actor and preserver of created things. Now, while I was doing this, the celestial little baby made his short little visit and told me, "My daughter, one who does the divine will, in doing her acts, pours herself into it. There is not one particle of her being which does not take its place in the supreme volition. And then everything that God created, everything he has done and will do, being all enclosed in my volition, pours itself completely, as one single act, over the act of the creature, in such a way that her act remains filled, embellished, surrounded with everything that my will has done and will do. So much so that all the divine acts appear impressed, fused, circumfused, in the act of the creature. When my will operates, be it in our divinity or in the human act, it cannot, nor does it want to detach any of its acts from another, but unites them all together and forms the new act that it wants to do. It can be said that the whole of our divine being, with all our acts, pours over the creature. We hide within her. We wall ourselves up, while we remain as we are, in our interminable immensity and power. However, our happiness is doubled on the part of the creature, because she has given us the occasion to bilocate our life together with our acts. And we receive the glory, the honor, the love of our own life, and of all our acts, on the part of the one who lets herself be possessed by our will. It happens to us as to the sun, which, when it gives itself to the earth from the height of its sphere, seems to only give light. But it is not true. Together with its light, it gives everything it possesses. And this is so true that one can see the earth blooming with many varieties of colors, varieties of sweetnesses, of flavors. Who gave so much beauty, so many substances, so many colors? The light only? Ah, no, it is because the light gave the substances, the properties which the light possesses. It can be said that the earth is rich, embellished by the properties that the sun possesses. But while the sun gives, it loses nothing of what it possesses. Oh, if the sun had reason, how much happier, more glorified it would feel because of the great good it does to the earth. To reproduce our life, our acts, in our beloved creature is happiness for us. And we feel as though grateful toward her, because she has given us the field to make use of our communicative power of reproducing ourselves in her. Then, in hearing this, I thought to myself, and what if there were sin and passions? How can the creature receive this great good? And Jesus added, Blessed daughter, when the soul places herself at the mercy of my will has the virtue of making evil lose life. There is no sin or passions which do not feel themselves being given death, more than by a deadly sword. Even more, they die of their own. As my will reigns in the soul, so do they feel themselves lose life. My will is to evil like frost to the plants, which withers them, dries them, and makes them die. It is like light to darkness, such that, as the light appears, darkness disappears and dies. Even more, one does not even know where it went to. My will is like heat to cold. The cold dies under the virtue of the heat. If the frost, the light, the heat have the virtue of making plants, darkness and cold die, much more does my divine will have the virtue of making all evils together die. At most, if the soul did not let herself be dominated always by my will, And there, where it does not always rain, it cannot communicate all the goods and convert the whole entirety of the creature into divine life. And wherever the divine life is missing, evil arises, and it can happen as to the plants. If the strength of the frost withdraws, the plants, though with difficulty, begin to turn green again. If the light withdraws, darkness rises again, and if the heat withdraws, the cold acquires its life again. Here then the great necessity to always, always do my will, and to live in it. If you want to banish all evils, and eradicate even the roots of passions, more so, since my divine will wants to always give to the creature. But in order to give, it remains on the lookout to see how much she operates in its will, because for each act she does in it, she acquires a divine right. So, as many acts as she does, so many rights does she acquire in the sea of my fiat. And my will acquires as many rights over the creature. These rights on both sides render God and the poor creature the masters. And my will, bilocated and enclosed in the soul, for as much as she is capable of enclosing, wanting to always give, takes her to navigate the immense sea of its volition, which reigns in God Himself, and rendering her more capable, it takes from its own sea, and expands the little sea of its volition, present in the depth of the soul. It can be said that it makes of her its little vessel, to go sailing in its immense sea of its volition. And in so far as she disposes herself and operates, so does she enclose new doses of divine will. Therefore, always in it do I want you. In this way, you shall give me the right to be able to always give you, and you to always receive. Fiat. January 14th, 1933. The Page of Life. The Creation, Celestial Page. The I love you punctuation of these pages. The Divine Author and Writer. I was going around through the whole creation, according to my usual way, to encounter the divine will dominating in it, and requite it with my love, for its great love for me, in creating so many things for love of me. And it seemed to me that each created thing was there in waiting to receive the seal of my I love you. This was a right, a tribute, a little sign that they demanded from the earth for that divine will, which had given so much to all creatures, and which was for them actor and preserver. But while I was doing this, it seemed that my sweet Jesus, with his own hands, would take my I love you, and would place it as a seal upon those created things to which I was directing it. And setting them aside, he would wait for me to continue the crafting of the I love you for all other created things. And I, amazed in seeing the interest of Jesus, his waiting, thought to myself, But how great at all is my little I love you, as to reach the point of forming the occupation and the interest of Jesus. And he, pausing in order to speak to me, told me, "My blessed daughter, do you know what your I love you is? It is like the punctuation to a text. A text without punctuation looks like a mess, without the right ideas, without formed expressions, in a way that one who reads it, not finding the true meaning, can get the ideas he wants, beautiful or ugly, according to his own liking. So, if the punctuation is missing, it can be called a script without true value, and it tells in clear notes of the ignorance and the little value of the one who wrote it. Yet, how great at all is a period! There's a footnote here referring to the word period, meaning full stop. Yet, how great at all is a full stop, a comma, a question mark, and all the rest of the punctuation. It can be called nothing compared to the work of the developing of a text. Such is your I love you. It is the punctuation on the text of your life, of your words, works, steps, and even of your heart. The punctuation of your I love you puts order in all your acts, puts the right ideas, renders the most beautiful expressions, and makes you know the one, because of whose love was the page and the text of your life formed. But this is nothing yet. This period, this little comma of your I love you, rises high and punctuates our divine page, our celestial characters of all creation. What is the whole creation, if not our divine page, placed outside of us, and our celestial characters, impressed on the whole page of creation, punctuated with such order and harmony, with the rightest ideas, with the most beautiful and moving expressions, made with such value of art, which no author can imitate. Now your I love you unites to the divine punctuation, and punctuating along, it comes to know the value of our characters. It learns how to read our page. It comprehends, with the right ideas, how much we have done for love of it, and receives the most beautiful and moving expressions of its Creator. And it gives us the little tribute. It pays us the little fee, which, with love of justice, we expect of the creature. Not only this, since by its own nature the I love you has the virtue of converting into light, I, with all love, take these periods and commas of your I love you, and place your little light upon our divine punctuation. And looking at the whole creation, I feel such squeezes of love, for I see the punctuation of the little daughter of my will, united to our celestial punctuation. But tell me, my daughter, why do you say to me I love you, and want to invest all created things, and even my acts, with your I love you? And I, because I love you, and I want to be loved by you. And he, so it is because you love me that you say to me I love you. And is this not the greatest of my contentments, my sighs, my yearnings, my deliriums, to be loved by the creature? Now, know that at each I love you of yours, I whisper to the ear of your heart, I love you. And I place my celestial punctuation on the page and characters of your life. Aren't you happy? And I, my love, it is not enough for me. No, only your punctuation? I am not content. My mere punctuation may be enough for you, because being little and good at nothing, I can do nothing else. But you, who can do everything, in order to be content, I want you yourself to form for me the page and the characters of my life. And Jesus, yes, yes, I will make you content. And I could tell you that I am doing it. Now, know that in order to have written a page, it takes paper, ink, and pen, all things of raw materials, in order to form a written page. If one of them is missing, the script cannot have life. Now, the paper is my divine will, which, as the foundation of everything, must form the page of life. See, I can say that my will laid itself as the foundation of all creation, more than paper, in order to receive our distinct characters of our incessant love, into which we poured, more than indelible characters, our divine qualities and works. Our characters are formed with works and incessant love. In the same way, the soul must possess my divine will as the foundation of everything. But this is not enough. The incessant love is needed in order to form the ink with which to write on this paper of light. But paper and ink are not sufficient to form the characters. Therefore, the pen of holy works is needed. The diversity of sacrifices, the circumstances of life, in order to form the pen, and so write orderly characters, the most beautiful and moving expressions, which now make one cry, now fill the heart with joy, in such a way that whoever shall be able to read them will feel transformed and returned with the life of the good which that page possesses. And I, divine author and writer, when I find paper, ink, and pen, just as I formed and wrote the page of creation, so do I occupy myself, to my greatest delight, with forming and writing the page of this creature, perhaps more beautiful than the very page of creation. Therefore, have paper, ink, and pen always ready, and I promise you to write the page of your life, in which it will appear that I alone have been the one who formed it and wrote it. In this way you will remain content, and so will I. Fiat. You have reached the end of the Book of Heaven, Volume 31, Part 8. Fiat.